Pirate. Beast Kai Duo Family Introduction. Dad. Run. Mom is catching up. Running at full speed. You too, stop. I told you not to play around at home. My favorite vase. Blade 1 Yang. X2 Jean. Kai Duo Big Brother, Lily Big Sister Head and Miss Yamato are getting into trouble again. Quinn. It seems that Big Brother trained Miss Yamato and broke Big Sister's favorite vase. Everyone. That's no wonder, covering his face, the author was disgusted by all the clowns in the One Piece King and the Kingdom of One, and with the addition of liking the character of Kaido who opened this book, the newcomer's clumsy work. If there are any shortcomings, I hope everyone points them out. Group Number 7645328869. Figure 1. Rose Lily in Rose Derek, Past Stories. You are listening at novelfull.audio. My name is Rose Lily, and I don't know who my parents are. When I have memories, I stayed in the Royal Army. My name was given by Rose Derek, an old military doctor at the clinic at the time, and this person was also my adoptive father. I have been different from other children since I was young. For example, my strength is stronger, my peers are still playing with mud, I can run around holding dumbbells used by soldiers for training, and other children need to rest for a long time after being injured. I only need to eat meat and sleep to recover, and for example, the corner of my head. I have been curious about why there are horns on my head since I was young, and no one else has. At that time, no one answered me, and those soldiers did not know. My adoptive father Derek seemed to avoid this topic until when I was 9 years old, an 8-year-old child joined the Royal Army, and that child was called Kedo. Kaido, like me, also has 2 horns, but unlike me, his horns are located on both sides of the head, like cows, while my horns are located on the temples, slightly curved and straight upwards. Just a week after Kaido joined the army, Derek finally told me about my background. I am not an ordinary human, but a special race known as the Ghost Clan. The characteristics of the Ghost Clan are innate dual horns and strong physical fitness. Kaido, like me, is a very rare race in the world. I still remember it rained heavily that night, and occasional lightning outside the window illuminated Derek's face. Derek stood up and took out a book and a note from the bookshelf, handing it to me. I took the book and a piece of paper, which was a popular science book titled Introduction to World Minority Races. Ghost Tribes. Another piece of paper that made me curious was not a piece of paper, but a piece of cloth with brown marks. The shape of the cloth was irregular, and it looked like it was hastily torn off from clothes. No, it should have been torn off, because I could see what the brown marks on the cloth were. It was blood, which had already dried up. The part of the cloth that was not stained with blood was written crookedly with a name. Lily. I looked up at Derek and roughly guessed what this was. But I'm curious why Derek is giving me these now. Derek looked at me, took a few deep breaths, and lit a cigarette, which was quite unusual. I remember Derek didn't smoke or drink, and I remember he said that smoking and drinking would make his hands tremble. Doctors shouldn't shake their hands. Derek took a deep breath of his cigarette, perhaps it had been a long time since he smoked. Derek was choked by the smoke and coughed continuously, his eyes turning red and tears streaming down his face. I gently patted Derek's back until he regained his breath. Derek wiped his tears with his sleeve, which was another abnormal move. Derek has a slight cleanliness obsession, and his white coat sleeves are always clean. I don't know what's wrong with him, but I know he's very sad. Derek is my adoptive father, and I don't want him to be so upset, so I'm ready to get up and leave. If what he wants to tell me causes him so much pain, then I choose not to understand and alleviate Derek's pain. But just as I stood up to go out, Derek suddenly pushed me back into his seat. Derek took a deep breath and finally spoke slowly. Lily, I know who your parents are, Derek said softly. I know your father, your mother, your family. They're all gone, aren't they? I could guess the result, as the bloodstains on the cloth and Derek's pain had already told me everything. "Lily, let me tell you a story from nearly 10 years ago." The rain grew louder and louder, but Derek's voice became clearer. He didn't directly answer me, but instead crossed the topic. "I'm not from the kingdom of Woka. I come from the kingdom of Anka, which is a prosperous and shameful country. Everything in that country is built on population trading. Yes, Anka Kingdom is called the Kingdom of Gold and the Kingdom of Nobility, but that's fake. It's actually a country of garbage and animals. I was born in such a place." Derek's voice was calm, as if he wasn't speaking. "I was born in the kingdom of Woka, and my family was considered a nobleman. At that time, I didn't feel any shame in buying and selling slaves. I used to be accustomed to it. When I grew older, I went to study medicine, and I had to tell you, Lily. I didn't go to study medicine to save people, but to dismember others. I enjoyed the pleasure of dismembering others on the operating table. Yes, I was also a beast at that time, with no bottom line, not ashamed but proud. Later on, as I grew up, my anatomical skills became more and more sophisticated. I was even able to dissect a person while they were still alive, and the heart I extracted could even beat. At that time, my anatomical performance attracted countless people to watch every day, and even the world's aristocrats. The Tianlong people came to see my anatomical performance. I was immersed in this disgusting fun. It wasn't until 10 years ago. Derek took another puff at his cigarette, and the red cigarette end suddenly became bright and then dim. 10 years ago, I realized that my anatomy skills could not improve, and the nobles no longer appreciated my uniform dissection. It was then that I suddenly heard of a race I had never heard of before. The Ghost Clan, which is your race. The way I learned about it was through the book in your hand. I was very excited at the time, a brand new unknown race, and life was tenacious. It would definitely bring me a new reputation. In order to find the Ghost Clan, I hired a slave hunting team from the Kingdom of Woka at that time. This kind of fleet was everywhere in the Kingdom of Woka at that time, and I found familiar with it. My family agreed to catch the Ghost Clan with them. At that time, my mind was full of fantasies about becoming famous again. I boarded the slave hunting ship and set sail with them, but the sea was not as I had imagined. I had never been out to sea before, and I vomited profusely on the ship. Unfortunately, we encountered a big storm, which overturned the ship. I only had time to catch a floating wooden barrel and was knocked unconscious by the waves. Speaking of which, Derek coughed violently again. I saw the blackened blood in his hand, but I didn't know what to do at the time. I could only sit on the stool and listen as Derek, who had finally calmed down, continued. When I woke up again, it was already in a simple stone house. At that time, I was not at all clear, only vaguely seeing two tall figures. My only thought at the time was that I was saved, and it took me a while for my eyes to focus successfully. It was a ghost couple. The man was tall and sturdy, with black hair, wearing a fur jacket, and the woman was shorter than her husband, with white long hair. The tail of his long hair leans towards a faint blue color, and I still remember their names. Ando and Mary. Oh yes, they even told me that the Ghost Clan doesn't have a surname. Derek smiled as he said this, looking in a good mood, completely different from when he recalled the Kingdom of Woka before. I caught it while fishing in Ando, and it took me 3 whole days to wake up. It was so ridiculous, wasn't it? I came to catch the Ghost Tribe, but was saved by them. This world was so ridiculous, but I didn't feel that way at that time. I was deeply influenced by the thoughts of the Woka Kingdom, and of course, I wasn't foolish either. I just said that I had a shipwreck, thanked them for their help. At that time, I had my life card on my body, and I knew someone would come to pick me up later. At that time, I could get the Ghost Tribe props that I had been longing for. At least that's how I thought at that time. But people change, and the people who come to me are later than I imagined. To be more precise, it was a whole year later. This year, I lived in the tribe of the Ghost Tribe in Ando. I was curious to ask Ando why the ghost tribes in the village were so bloodthirsty and belligerent, as I saw in the book. Did you remember correctly in the book? Ando told me that not all the ghost tribes are indeed more belligerent, but there are people of different races, just like there are always good and bad people. This village was established by the unwilling to fight ghost tribes, and all the unwilling to fight ghost tribes live here. The village where I set sail and rested at sunset, I felt as if it had been purified. I lived there for a whole year, forgetting my purpose of coming here, forgetting what kind of person I was originally, as if I were the people of that village, as if my dirty past did not exist, but I forgot, and heaven will not forget at this point. Tears couldn't stop falling from Derek's face, and his voice became extremely choked. I still remember that day, it was the second day of your birth. The village was holding a party to celebrate your birth, and everyone put a piece of cloth with a name in the box, so Mary, as a mother, could grab your name. Because I had been in the village for a year, they also invited me to participate. I didn't bring the cloth, so in a hurry, I tore off a piece of my clothes and wrote Lily. Yes, your name was indeed chosen by me. Just as Mary took out the cloth strip, a bullet pierced Mary's shoulder to search for my fleet. They landed on the other end of the island. These people were greedy slave hunters, just as greedy as I used to be. I will never forget that day. All the ghost tribes in the village grabbed weapons and fought against the slave hunters. Mary handed you and the bloody cloth strip into my arms, sent me into the cellar, and then turned around and ran out. The fighting lasted all night, and I held you like a fool, until there was no sound outside. Until your crying brought me to my senses, I crawled out of the cellar and saw everything outside. I was still sitting on the chair, but I felt like I was sitting on the volcano crater. A strange feeling arose from my chest, but I couldn't bear it anymore. I didn't say a word, continue listening to Derek telling the story. The entire village outside was almost burned to ashes, all dead people, including villagers, and the slave hunting team. I carefully avoided them and longed to find a living person. In the end, I found them. In the center of the village, Ando was still alive, but he was also at the end of his life. Yu reading www.yuukangshu.net. He held the axe that chopped off the head of the slave hunting team captain, but he himself was also seen as not having a good piece of meat. I wanted to save him, but it was useless. I was only good at dissecting, not first aid. I kept apologizing to Ando. These people were attracted by me. If it weren't for me, if Ando didn't save me, all of this wouldn't have happened, but Ando didn't blame me. He said, "You didn't do anything. It was the greed of the slave hunting team that destroyed the village, which had nothing to do with me." How could this have nothing to do with me? All of this was my fault. Ando held on to the last breath and got rid of me, taking you away. After that, he also left. After that, I spent a week burying the people in the village, and then took you to Woka on the slave hunting ship, joining the army and becoming a military doctor. That's all. I don't deserve to be your adoptive father, Lily. He is just a shameful sinner. Why tell me now? I asked. Because you have grown up, I should tell you now. You're lying, that's definitely not the reason. Because I am sick, terminally ill, and only a few days away, I cannot bring these to the grave. Whether you hate me, blame me, or even kill me now, I cannot bring these to the grave. I am not worthy of your respect, nor do I deserve to be your adoptive father. I don't remember what I said afterwards. Anyway, 2 months later Derek died, and I can't judge him. My parents and family died because of him, but he also raised me. I may never understand this complex relationship in my life. Afterwards, I became the strongest warrior in the kingdom, and many people were not convinced, but I defeated them one by one. It wasn't until last year when I was defeated by Kaido that my lovely younger brother became the new strongest warrior in the kingdom. This was what happened to me, Rose Lily, before the age of 14. Figure 2. Lily and Kedo. You are listening at novelfull.audio. I am Rose Lily, and I still remember the first time I saw Kaido. That was the summer of 1473 in the Gregorian calendar. At that time, I was only 9 years old and the youngest warrior in the kingdom army. It wasn't until the arrival of Kaido that the youngest became him. I asked him why an 8-year-old child wants to become a soldier. Unlike someone like me who grew up in a military camp, Kaido has more choices. I still remember his answer, because an old man prophesied that I would die in war, and I will prove him wrong. No war can kill me. I still remember Kaido's expression at that time, with such a youthful and energetic expression on his face, but I only felt ridiculous. It was foolish to choose to go to the battlefield to prove himself for someone else's irrelevant words. He had no idea of the cruelty of the battle. So, I choose to wake him up. The battle ended quickly. Kaido is a ghost tribe with great strength, but I am also a ghost tribe. At our age, there is not much difference in strength. I am even a little older than him because I am 1 year older, and Kaido's fighting style is completely that of street thugs. After all, I grew up in the army and learned much more than him. I pressed his face against the sand, and I still remember him desperately trying to stand up, but being suppressed by me and unable to move. I want to persuade him to give up the idea of joining the army and return to a normal life, but I underestimated Kaido. He is not so easily swayed, and once he decides on something, he will definitely do it to the end, just like his bull horn. This guy is as stubborn as a cow. I can only compromise and demand that he must train with me and stay by my side on the battlefield. I believe he will change after witnessing the brutality of 2 wars, and he did not refuse this time. Afterwards, I started training with Kaido. I tried all my best to make him give up, but he took it all and his strength was growing rapidly. Quickly, time arrived at the beginning of Heian 1474, and a new war began. At the age of 10, I became the first warrior in the country and had my own team. Kaido became the vice captain with his record of defeating everyone except me. The target of the war is the Honey Kingdom, which is adjacent to the Woka Kingdom. This kingdom is famous for producing extremely delicious honey, but unfortunately, they are not a franchise country, so the war of the Woka Kingdom has no resistance. The warships of the Honey Kingdom cannot compete with us, and we almost have no resistance. Our team was the first to board their beachhead. The next battle is actually very simple. The purpose of the Woka Kingdom is not to occupy the Honey Kingdom, because it is not necessary. The king does not have the energy to rule them. The simple battle is to eliminate the guardian army of the Honey Kingdom, force their king to hand over the treasure, and we return with a full load. This is completely different from what I thought. It's too easy, even the most ordinary soldiers have no chance of winning against the Honey Kingdom. How could it scare Kaido? Watching Kaido devour meat at the victory party, I reluctantly touched the corner of my head. Forget it, I don't care what I love. Let's just take care of a younger brother, after all, I finally met a fellow race. That's my flesh. I snatched the bony flesh from Kedo's hand, swallowed it in 3 bites, and casually tapped Kedo's head with the bone. You stupid little brother. Remember me. Don't charge directly at the musket team next time. That's how my bad relationship with Kaido began. Division line. I am Kaido. In the summer of 1473 in the Gregorian calendar, I joined the royal army because I was being pulled by an old man on the street to do divination. Why would I die on the battlefield? Fuck it. I don't believe in any prophecies. I will prove that war is just that. The person who defeated me has not yet been born. On the 3rd day after joining the royal army, I was slapped in the face. Her name was Rose Lily, a woman. Well, she was still a girl at that time. I heard of her, and the soldiers chatting in the tavern said, a guy as strong as a ghost. I thought he was a strong man, but I didn't expect she to be a woman. I looked at the horns on her head, she must be a ghost like me, at least I haven't seen any other race with horns on her head. She walked up to me and asked why I wanted to join the military. I told her without any concern, but then she actually advised me to leave. What the hell? Say I'm innocent. Is this guy the innocent one? Isn't it just a fight? Who do you think I am? But I lost, that's right. With just 5 moves, I was pinned to the ground and even the 8 fasts were knocked away. Is this woman so strong? But I won't give up. Since I joined the army, I won't withdraw. Perhaps sensing my stubbornness, Lily no longer mentioned quitting, but she demanded that I must train with her and follow her during battles. This is exactly what I want. I will become stronger and defeat her. For the next 6 months, I will be training with Lily. I can see that she still wants me to leave, but I won't leave. I will stay here and surpass you. No matter how difficult the training may be, I will endure it until I surpass you. At the end of 1473, the internal martial arts competition within the royal army began, and I challenged her. Unfortunately, I failed again. However, this time, we fought for an hour, and as for the others, none of them could pass 20 moves. That year, Lily became the strongest warrior in the kingdom, but I will not give up. I will definitely surpass her. Just a month and a half later, war came, and I am full of anticipation for it. Come on. Come on. Let me take a look. How terrifying is the thing that will make me die? Then I was disappointed. Is that all? Is that all? No one can take a move with me. Their firearms fire too slowly, and the gap between their firing is enough for me to charge across a street and smash the 8 fasts in their face. It's boring, it's so boring. What kind of war is this? I secretly looked at Lily, and sure enough, I also noticed disappointment in her eyes. She thought so too, definitely. She also thought that such a war was too boring, and it couldn't be considered a war at all. Afterwards, things became even more boring. Doro asked the weak king to sign the surrender letter, and then we left with the treasure. Returning to the kingdom of Woka, the royal army held a celebration party. I really don't know what to celebrate with such a simple matter, but the food was quite good, much better than usual. I was eating meat in big gulps, while Lily walked up to me and sat down, feeling her worried face at the corner. I don't know what she was thinking, but her expression changed several times. Suddenly, she snatched the meat from my hand and swallowed it in 3 or 2 bites, and even hit me with that bone. You stupid little brother. Remember me. Don't charge directly at the musket team next time. Did I hear her say that, calling herself sister? That depends on whether you have that ability. Then you can take care of them before I do. Muscle Girl Lily. Wait, one day I will surpass you. Figure 3. Andre Doro. You are listening at novelfull.audio. My name is Andiester Doro, and I am the second son of the Andiester family, one of the 4 nobles in the kingdom of Woka. Second son, without inheritance rights or any influence, let alone I am not a legitimate descendant. My mother is just a plaything given to my father by a destitute nobleman. How about that? Is it a very familiar feeling? Yes, the same tricks are too common. Just in the kingdom of Woka, I can at least find 7 or 8 people from the same background as me. These are nobles, disgusting nobles. Oh, no, I am also nobles, it seems like there is no problem. I am also quite malicious myself. At the age of 18, I left my family and joined the royal army. Although I was the second son of a commoner, I still had the surname Andiester. Since I joined the royal army, it also represented Andiester's face in the royal army, so my starting point was a bit higher than others. When I entered the royal army, I was the captain of the squadron, which made many people dissatisfied. I know, but I can't say anything because my surname made them unhappy but unable to resist. To be honest, I hate this feeling, and I hope to make everyone agree with me. For this reason, I never slack off during training. I diligently complete the standard training amount for each soldier, even doubling it. I never refuse those who want to beat me under the guise of a martial arts competition. I will defeat them openly. Gradually, everyone begins to accept me. When I eat in the cafeteria, others no longer isolate me. When I rest, people start calling me out to drink together. I enjoy this kind of life much more than the cold and luxurious Andiester mansion, which is completely heartless. Although inferior beer is not smooth enough, it is the best drink in a lively atmosphere. The bed in the dormitory is not soft enough, but I sleep incredibly peacefully. I'm really at ease. Until one day, I saw a strange figure on the playground, which was a woman child. She should be a girl, right? Her face still looks childish, but I'm not sure about her height. After all, she's already as tall as me. I didn't disturb the girl who was practicing swordsmanship on the playground. I turned around and asked the other veterans. I learned from them that this was the adopted daughter of military doctor Rose Derrick. Rose Lily, and the girl was 8 years old. This TM is 8 years old. No matter how many times I think about it, I feel helpless. I know Lily's race, the ghost race, which is too easy to recognize in the diagonal, and I also know that the ghost race generally has good physical fitness and is very tall, such as the cafeteria spoon maker Black. However, Black is the same age as me, only 2.44 meters old. Lily is only 8 years old and she is already 1.9 meters tall like herself. Okay, what are you struggling with? There are all kinds of people in this world, including giants who are tens of meters tall, little humans who are a few centimeters tall, and fur-like animals. Although it is unclear whether these races mentioned in the book actually exist, there is no doubt that the physical fitness of the ghost race is indeed very strong. My strength is relatively good, but I am not Lily's opponent. Her strength is too strong, and she only made the first cut and cut herself back in a row. Whether it is strength, speed, flexibility, or reaction, I was completely crushed by an 8-year-old child, even though this child is 1.9 meters tall. Okay, many people are not Lily's opponents. In the eyes of others, being able to hold 20 moves in Lily's hands is already very strong. Except for the top 5 warriors in the kingdom, no one is Lily's opponent. But I still feel so embarrassed. In a subsequent plundering war, I saw Lily's figure again. She charged at the forefront of the entire army, the first to climb the enemy's city wall, the first to break into the enemy's palace, and the first to kidnap the enemy's king. Although someone told me that Lily grew up in the army since childhood and went to the battlefield at the age of 6, I still felt that it was a shame for an 8-year-old child to charge in front of her. For this, I secretly talked to the captain of Lily's squadron, and sure enough, that squadron captain also thought the same way. Although he thought having Lily as a formidable general was a good thing, it was still uncomfortable for such a young child to go to the battlefield. I once wanted to work with him to persuade Lily to withdraw from the army, but unfortunately, it was rejected. The reason is simple. The king also knows Lily's existence, and he will not let go of such a potential stock. I have no choice but to find a way to protect myself. Through my identity as the captain, I transferred Lily to my command and made her my guard. Can this make her charge a little slower? I naively thought to myself, but unfortunately, I was wrong. I couldn't control this girl at all. Once a war broke out, she would always be the first to charge out. Therefore, I trained her several times, hoping that she could stay in the rear honestly. If she was 18 years old, I would definitely not care about her, but she was only 8 years old. Can't Dr. Derrick take care of her? But it's useless at all. No matter how much I say, this girl always goes in one ear and out the other, she can't even listen. I gave up, just made an agreement with her not to rush too fast, not to be disconnected from the army, and let her go with everything else. I thought life would be stable now, but God told me that I am not suitable for a stable life. A year later, Kaido came, and Kaido, like Lily, is a ghost tribe. Kaido is only 8 years old. Do you all have any problems with the ghost tribe? Is it any unwritten rule of your ghost tribe to become a soldier at the age of 8? Is there anyone to take care of it? Then one person took action. It was someone I didn't expect. Lily. Lily gave Kaido a chubby beating, and several people joined in before pulling them apart. Later, when I asked Lily the reason for the beating, she said it was to prevent Kaido from joining the army because she thought Kaido was too young, and the reason was the same as what I said about her. So you heard me. I forget it, I'm too lazy to take care of it. You guys can make trouble yourselves, as long as it doesn't affect the training and tasks. 2 months later, Dr. Rose Derrick passed away, and Lily stood in front of Dr. Derrick's tombstone. She didn't cry, and I wanted to comfort her, but I couldn't talk about it. She said that the death of her biological parents was related to him, but it was also him who escaped with her and raised her. She didn't know how to deal with Derrick. Maybe it's better to just do this. It's more appropriate to settle everything in one go than to entangle with each other. I didn't say much, I could only pat her shoulder. Oh, by the way, Lily is already taller than me, and I really envy her. The next day, Lily resumed her training, and it seemed that this incident had not greatly affected her. 2.5 months later, Lily became the new strongest warrior in the kingdom, successfully breaking the record at the age of 10. The later events didn't have much meaning, except that 3 years later, at the age of only 12, Kaido defeated Lily by a stroke and became the strongest warrior in the new kingdom. The rest of the world was very stable. Until that fateful moment arrived, I returned to the Andiester mansion after a long absence, and my blood brother specifically sent someone to pick me up. From his mouth, I learned about the king's plan. In fact, my first thought upon hearing this plan was foolishness, and the second was disgust. A kingdom, a king, needs to rely on betraying its soldiers to gain benefits. Yu reading www.yuukangshu.net is so foolish, so disgusting, so short-sighted that even the strongest warriors in the kingdom can be sold. Who will continue to sacrifice their lives for this country? Where does wealth come from without the lives of soldiers? Without wealth, how can heavenly gold be handed in? Without paying the heavenly gold, the world government will never recognize the status of the kingdom of Woka. Pop. I slapped myself, and those were Lily and Kedo, your friends. You even considered things from the perspective of a nobleman. Sure enough, I was also disgusted. But what should I do? After much thought, I realized that there was nothing I could do. I couldn't let them escape in advance because it would bring catastrophic consequences to the entire kingdom. However, I couldn't bear not to tell them. The only fortunate thing was that they were sent to the navy, fortunately not through the efforts of those Tianlong people. As I returned to the military camp in a daze, that night, the king's letter arrived and I couldn't resist. I could only tell myself that it was the king, I was a nobleman, and everything I had came from my identity. I couldn't lose it. I kept telling myself this until that day arrived. I quietly packed the things for the two of them, stuffed some food and wine that I cherished, and gave them as gifts. I hope they don't hate me, this useless big brother. Seeing the two people being arrested, I clenched my fists. I didn't have the strength to resist, I didn't have the strength. I walked up to the rear admiral with a smile and handed him the package, but I didn't have the strength to resist. I didn't say a word as I watched Lily and Kedo being taken away. I didn't say a word as I watched the nobles celebrating each other. I didn't say a word as I watched the king pretending to be calm. Sure enough, the nobles are very disgusting, and I am also very disgusting. I don't have the strength to resist yet, I don't have the strength to resist. Character Chronicle. Longevity and the Kingdom of Flowers. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Wansho, the second prince of the Flower Kingdom, was later granted the title of King of Qin. The Kingdom of Flowers is a beautiful place, and as a prince and prince, my living environment is also very favorable. We have 3 brothers in our family, eldest brother Wanfu, Wansho, and younger brother Wanlu. We are triplets and have grown up together since childhood. Our relationship is very good, at least the incident of brothers taking the throne has not happened, and eldest brother Wanfu's position as the crown prince is stable and secure. Big brother has a calm personality and works steadily. As a ruler of the country, he is perfect. My younger brother has been fond of reading since childhood, and the old gentlemen of the Hanlon Academy all like him. Before I left the flower country, he had been promoting education in the flower country. His teaching reforms and free academies have made many people in the flower country call him a saint. And I, on the other hand, am quite special. I hate complicated politics and boring books. Compared to these, I prefer the feeling of wielding a sword. I have a close relationship with those generals and captains, and of course, my older brother has never doubted me because he knows I am not interested in those politics. Even if he asks me to become a king, I will refuse because it is too boring. I would rather learn martial arts and go to war. I am greedily learning martial arts knowledge, as well as some medical knowledge, for better combat, and unwillingly learning some ways of governing the country, to prepare for future feudal governance. When I was 18 years old, our three brothers were officially enfeoffed, our eldest brother became the crown prince, I was enfeoffed as the king of Qin, and my younger brother was enfeoffed as the king of Qi. Of course, due to the love of our father, we were not separated for the time being and still lived on this island. That same year, I participated in the trial of the temple. The temple is the leader of all temples in the Kingdom of Flowers. All temples within the Kingdom of Flowers are under the jurisdiction of the temple, and if you want to build a temple, you must register with the temple. Similarly, the temple does not discriminate against any folk temple and will actively request a statue to be placed in the temple for incense and offerings. This principle of no competition or competition makes the entire temple the most noble place in the Kingdom of Flowers. Even the king must give way to it 3 times. In this regard, the temple voluntarily promises that no temple will interfere with the court. Anyone who participates in politics and politics outside under the banner of the temple can be killed. It is. The trial of the temple is a major event in the entire Flower Kingdom. Every 10 years, the temple invites all adults aged 18 to 28 from across the country to participate in the trial. Those who succeed in the trial can receive the demon fruits enshrined in the temple, which are all demon fruits of the mythical beast type corresponding to the statues in the temple. Each one is priceless, and why the temple has these demon fruits has always been a secret that only the highest level of the temple can know. I participated in the trial, but I couldn't remember exactly what the trial was about. It was a very vague feeling. I felt like a person who was seasick sitting on a small boat, surrounded by a storm, and couldn't even vomit. It was difficult to breathe. Later, my eyes darkened and I fainted. When I woke up again, I was already in the rest room of the temple. The head of the temple, the immortal Pinyin, stood in front of me, telling me that I had passed the trial and was selected by the divine beast. I was also the only person to pass the last 5 selections. I followed Ping and Junren in a daze and walked to a temple where a majestic divine beast was enshrined. The divine beast was shaped like a tiger or leopard, with a head and tail resembling a dragon. Its color was also golden and jade, and it had a pair of wings on its shoulders that could not be extended. It had a horn on its head and leaned back. The immortal Pinyin said that this is the divine beast Pishio, a symbol of warding off evil and wealth. He led me to the Pishio statue, bowed 3 times and kowtowed 9 times, then took out a wooden box from under the statue and handed it to me. I opened the box, and I could guess what it was. Without a doubt, it was the devil fruit, the cat fruit, the phantom beast seed, and the Pishio fruit. I would not refuse the powerful power. After obtaining the approval of the Peace Immortal, I ate this fruit. Oh, I'm sorry, I don't want to recall that smell, and I finally know what the worst taste in the world was written about in the previous book is. Afterwards, I accepted an invitation from the immortal Pinyin to stay at the temple and learn the martial arts that have been passed down for many years. My father and brothers also supported me and congratulated me on my success. For a full 22 years afterwards, I spent almost all of my time in the temple. I not only learned the martial arts of the Pishio sect, but also integrated the martial arts of various sections. I also learned the use of armed color dominance and witnessed color dominance. During this period, besides studying martial arts, I also read the precious collection of books in the temple. For some reason, those historical books fascinated me so much. I kept reading, learning, and understanding more and more places and knowledge. I longed to visit many places recorded in the books, such as the living islands, the islands flying in the sky, and the islands filled with delicious food. The small figure the size of a finger, the giant several tens of meters tall, all of these make me feel relaxed and happy, but I also found some things wrong. In those ancient books, the situation of the Flower Kingdom is clearly recorded. At that time, the Flower Kingdom was a powerful kingdom composed of 56 huge islands, but I don't know what happened. Now, the Flower Kingdom only has 7 islands left, and 100 years of history has disappeared, so it suddenly disappeared. I curiously asked the immortal Pinyin, but he didn't answer. Unfortunately, he shook his head at me and didn't say anything. Afterwards, I left the temple to search for my father, elder brother, and younger brother. However, none of them knew what had happened in those 100 years. One thing I learned from my younger brother was that the lack of land in the Flower Country was related to the world government, and my older brother also said that he accidentally said that the world government was cracking down on the faith in the Flower Country. I don't know why. I'm not good at these things. I'm not good at politics. I don't know how to deal with those nobles, but I know one thing: Flower Country is a member of the franchise country, and theoretically, the world government should not take action against Flower Country. Why is this? Why is this? I no longer went to the temple, bid farewell to my father and brothers, and went to my own fiefdom. I hope to understand these things, but I don't have time. When I arrived at my fiefdom, I found that due to 3 consecutive years of severe drought, the fiefdom I was in had already formed a major famine. Even though there was relief food from the palace, it was not enough to ensure the survival of the people here. Fortunately, I returned. When I was in the temple, I learned the true ability of the Pishio fruit. Through the auspicious clouds of the Pishio fruit, I brought back the rain clouds from afar. With the auspiciousness represented by the Pishio, I revitalized the land and accelerated the growth of food. The people were very grateful to me. But curious. Why doesn't it rain on the island every time I leave? This problem has been bothering me all along, and finally, I have made up my mind to thoroughly investigate it. I have been investigating it for a whole year, and finally, I have discovered the cause. There is a small island to the north of my fiefdom, which is too small and lacks fresh water. No one cares about it. However, one night while running in the air, I noticed smoke rising on that island. Immediately after, it started to rain. This is strange. Although the Pishio's power cannot make me move in the clouds and rain, I can still feel the surge of air currents. It shouldn't rain here. Since that day, I have been squatting on this island. I found that every week, people quietly come to this island to burn something, and it rains every time. I returned to my palace and began to ask the officials. Everyone shook their heads and said they didn't know, until a sailor general said he had heard of something abroad. Dance fans. This kind of thing can make the sky rain, but this kind of rain does not appear out of thin air. After the powder burns and rises to the sky, it will gather nearby clouds, which will make it impossible for rain to rain in other places except here. Understood, everyone understood. I see, no wonder the territory cannot rain. Forgive me for that. After that day, I quietly ambushed around the island with the sailors. Finally, one night, a strange small boat docked. He carried a big bag on his back and threw it on the open ground. He took out a lighter from his pocket. Just as he started the fire, the sailors and I rushed up and threw the person to the ground. This suspicious guy, dressed in a black suit, I took the knocked-out guy back to the palace. Under the torture of his subordinates, I learned his identity. This guy is a member of the CP organization under the world government. The reason why he came here to use dance fans is to make the people of this island rebel and disrupt the Flower Kingdom. Upon hearing this, my anger surged above my head, and a strange force erupted from me. The people in the hall were knocked unconscious by this force. Later, I learned that this force was called the domineering color and domineering aura. I told my father and brother about this matter, but they didn't say anything. I angrily questioned them why they didn't say a word. I cursed loudly in the court until I was stopped by my younger brother. I still remember what my younger brother said: "We are not opponents of world governments. Is that why we have to swallow our pride? Because of this, we didn't even protest. Is it just because of this that we sit back and watch the people suffer? They are from the kingdom of flowers. They are all part of the flower country. Do you just watch them starve to death in front of the barren land like this?" I left in anger. Before leaving, I even dismantled a palace gate. My father stopped the guard. Maybe he was unwilling, maybe he was also angry, but he was a king and he couldn't show it. I went to the temple again and asked the same question to Heonjinren. This time, Heonjinren also fell silent. Afterwards, he patted my head 3 times and left, leaving me feeling lost in thought. In the middle of the night, I quietly arrived at the door of the Ping Immortal's house, hesitating whether to knock on the door and look for the Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com. Just then, a voice came from inside the house. "Come in." Ping and Jinren knew I was here. I pushed open the door and walked in. There were no lights in the room, but through the moonlight, I could clearly see the figure of the real person Pingyan. He was dressed in an extremely formal purple attire, which was only worn during ceremonies. I walked in and that night we talked a lot, about the flower country, about the people, about the stories passed down from temple leaders, about the world government, about Joey Boy, and about those 100 years. The next day, I lay on the bed in the room where I was practicing. I thought a lot. I remembered the expressionless faces of my father and brother, the helpless faces of my younger brother, the serious face of the Heian Immortal, the indifferent face of the guy in black clothes. Finally, I remembered the faces of those yellow-skinned people who went to the territory and questioned me why they abandoned them. Aren't they the people of the Flower Kingdom? These faces kept asking me questions. I saw the little girl who was so hungry that her belly swelled up. I saw the family that changed children and ate, and I saw the dry bones on the cracked land. I have made up my mind, if you dare not, then I will come. That night, I did a foolish thing. I stole all the demon fruits from the temple, and I lived here for 22 years. I knew very well where they were all placed, and with the help of the strange space brought by the Pishio fruits, I brought them all out. Then, I drove a small boat with a few stolen mice I raised and left the flower country. I needed to search for and find the power to resist the world government. I took out all the demon fruits and placed them in the cabin of the ship. The alien space was repelling them, and I could only hide them on the ship. These things are my cards to challenge the world government in the future. Chapter 1. 2 Noisy People. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 1, 2, 3, 4. Accompanied by a loud call sign, teams of soldiers were jogging on the playground. In the dormitory building next to the playground, a 13-year-old boy with horns like ox horns on his head was sleeping soundly, and the nasal mucus bubbles in his nostrils continued to enlarge and shrink as he exhaled. Bang! With a loud bang, the poor door slammed to the ground, but it did not wake up the sleeping boy, and his nasal mucus still fluctuated regularly. Kaido! You bastard doesn't participate in training. With a loud shout, a shadow rushed into the room, grabbed the bed board of the boy named Kaido, and with one force, even lifted the bed with the person flying out. Pop! With the burst of his nasal mucus, Kaido instantly woke up and flipped over in the air. His feet kicked against the wall and rushed back with a thud. He took out a wolf tooth stick from somewhere and held it tightly in his hands, shouting loudly, "Rose Lily! Kaido! With the simultaneous sound of coquettishness, the wolf tooth stick and long knife collided. Although it was just a collision of weapons, a gust of wind blew the items in the room upside down, rolling up a gust of dust. As the dust dissipated, we finally saw the figure of a young girl holding onto Kaido. She had long white hair, black pupils, and had 2 horns like Kaido, only red horns growing on her forehead. Kaido. You're slacking off without training. As the strongest warrior, you should lead by example. The girl withdrew her long sword and pointed it at Kaido, saying, I'm not going, it's too boring. Those guys can't beat me at all, and this kind of training has no effect. Kedo said with a disdainful expression on his face as he carried his wolf tooth stick and pursed his lips, I'm so angry. You guy. Go train me. The girl angrily reached out to grab Kaido, but Kaido showed no weakness and reached out to block him. The two of them threw away their weapons and turned into 2 hands fighting against each other. They were of similar height and strength, and for a moment, neither of them could do anything about each other. I'm going to train you on your own. You want to command me. Let's wait until you get back the title of the strongest warrior. Muscle girl. Lily. Kedo exerted all his strength and pushed the girl back. Oh no, Lily. Stinky kid. Is that what you call your lovely sister who has been helping you all along? Lily suddenly exerted her strength because she was 1 year older, and due to the fact that women developed earlier than men, Lily stood up to Kedo without showing any weakness. The two gritted their teeth and refused to compromise, causing a stalemate in the scene. At this moment, My dormitory. An adult man's howl sounded, and Kaido and Lily turned their heads at the same time to find the soldiers who had just finished training standing at the door under the leadership of the captain, and one of the owners of this dormitory who had just let out a howl. Kaido. Lily. You two come to my office, the others tidy up the room. The captain shouted their names with a gloomy face, then turned around and left. It's all your fault, Doro is going to be verbose again. Kedo followed Captain Doro and whispered to Lily, what's wrong with me? You're the one who didn't train, locked the door and hid in the room to sleep, otherwise how could I be nagged by this guy Doro? Lily pushed back without showing any weakness. It's clearly your fault. No, it's your fault. Blame you. Blame you. As their voices grew louder, Doro's face darkened as he walked ahead, wishing to punch the 2 guys behind him. However, considering that he might not be a match for these 2 monsters, Doro had to pretend not to hear the sound behind him and quickly walked towards the office. Now it is 1478 in the Gregorian calendar, and this is the Great Route. The Kingdom of Woka, the King's Army Camp. Tell me, why did we get into a fight again today? In the captain's office, Doro took a sip of water and looked at the 2 people sitting on the sofa in front of him, rubbing his forehead and saying. Report. Captain. Kaido is slacking off in the room. I'll call him for training, but he won't go and still takes action. Lily stood up first and said, it was a sudden rush. It flipped me in my bed over, otherwise how could I have done it? Kedo couldn't sit still at Lily's words and stood up, pointing at her to refute. If you train, I won't lift your bed. If you don't lift the bed, I won't fight you. You're not going to train. You're making trouble for no reason. You're just making trouble for no reason. You. Stop. Quiet. As the 2 of them were about to start fighting again, Doro quickly called for a halt. If one of them didn't pay attention, his office would definitely be destroyed. If his private album was discovered, his reputation would be ruined. Doro looked at Kaido and Lily who were looking at him and cleared his throat, cough cough, you too. It's so outrageous. Kedo. The current kingdom's first warrior. Rose Lily. The former kingdom's first warrior. Fighting recklessly in the dormitory and causing damage to items, what's it like? I'll punish you to put away all the training equipment on the playground. That's it, you two won't be the same again. Yes, okay, the two of them casually answered, and then rushed out. For the first time, Doro didn't say much anymore. He usually trains them for at least an hour, but today he just finished speaking so easily. If he doesn't run now, let's wait a little longer. Watching the two people rushing out the door, Doro sighed helplessly and walked to his desk, taking out the king's order he had received from the drawer. Command. In 5 days, bring Kedo and Rose Lily into the palace. Doro read the command book again and rubbed his temples. He knew what the king's command meant, and his family was also ranked high in the kingdom of Woka. Although he was not an heir, he could still learn a lot of news. The king was preparing to win a seat in the World Council of Governments, but Woka was too poor to maintain the submission of heavenly gold by fighting everywhere, but it was impossible to become a member of the council through property, so the king took a different approach and prepared to send the most promising warriors of the kingdom, 13-year-old Kedo and 14-year-old Rose Lily, to the navy. Read www.uukangshu.net to obtain a seat in the franchise. Doro stood up and looked through the window at the young boys and girls moving equipment on the playground. For a moment, he felt that his king was so foolish. If he kept the two of them, they would definitely bring greater benefits to the kingdom when they grew up. At that time, with the help of the two of them, they would definitely be able to conquer a large area of land and become council members, which would not be a burden. Doro felt his size these past few days catch up with the total amount of the previous year. He knew that the king's orders could not be changed, let alone that the king had already contacted the navy. Perhaps the navy's warships were on their way now, and he was just the second son of a noble family. What could he do? Doro helplessly thought to himself, wishing them good luck. With their talents, he could at least become a lieutenant general or even a major general in the navy. Forget it, what was on his mind? Doro shook his head and silently wished his two best soldiers in his heart, and it was at this moment. Shoo! Suddenly, the sound of breaking through the air rang out, and Doro jumped back with a loud bang. A lead bullet slammed fiercely down the window into the house, or else Doro's reflexes were too fast to dodge, and he was knocked out just now. It's blocking well. Kedo. I see you can block it a few times. Look at the move. The shells are being thrown. Lily's voice came along the broken hole. Then I'll block it for you. Watch it. Lily. This is my ultimate move. Thunder and gossip. With a loud bang, another lead bullet flew into the building. Doro felt the vibration of the building below him and quickly got up. He rushed to the window at the fastest speed and watched Lily and Kedo playing baseball with lead bullets and a wolf-tooth bat downstairs. Doro took a deep breath. You two, stop it. Chapter 2. Palace Banquet. You are listening at novelfull.audio. This translator is experiencing an error, please try another translator. Chapter 3. Betrayal, Escape, and Failure. You are listening at novelfull.audio. A huge iron cage fell, instantly covering Lily and Kedo. The two of them dodged and wanted to escape, but at this moment, two people wearing black suits and masks, one on the left and the other on the right, blocked the two of them. It was only for such a second that Lily and Kedo couldn't escape in time. Bang! As the iron cage fell, Kaido angrily rushed to the railing and roared at Vodka 3. Why should I be the lackey of the world government? Kaido grabbed the cage, opened his big mouth, and almost wanted to choose someone to eat. It's simple, the Navy has started conscription, and once you two successfully extradite, this country can get the right to participate in the next World Conference, said the Navy, wearing a baseball cap, calmly. I'm not your political tool. With Kaido's roar, he grabbed the railing of the cage with both hands, trying to forcefully tear open the iron cage. The two CP personnel who had just stopped Lily and Kaido saw that something was not going well. They both flew up and kicked Kaido, and Kaido was kicked backwards. However, In that moment, they found a smile on Kaido's lips. As everyone's gaze was drawn to Kaido, Lily, who was using Kaido's cover, drew out her sword from her waist and vigorously slashed across with both hands. One breath. With Lily's low drink, half of the railing of the iron cage was cut off, but Lily's defective product in her hand was also broken into several pieces. Collision. At this moment, Kaido, who was kicked away, happened to hit the railing. The railing, which was already half cut open, was suddenly broken. At the same time, Kaido's mouth was also idle. I didn't expect it. You ridiculous guys, this is my escape route. After saying this, Kaido fell heavily to the ground. The sudden change caught everyone off guard, and those nobles were also bewildered. They were cheering for joining the World Conference the previous second, but were about to catch someone the next. Then, for some unknown reason, they ran out again. But the others were confused, Lily didn't. She rushed out of the iron cage with one swift step, reached out and grabbed Kedo's horn, quickly ran towards the door. What's so cool about being kicked away? Run away. Lily cursed softly, but at that moment, the door was opened and a navy team rushed in with muskets. As they were about to collide, Lily came up with a quick idea and threw the Kaido in her hand as a hidden weapon. Yes, it was over 3 meters and fast for meters. Pai li pa. What kind of thing is it? My hand. Who's stepping on my hand? The scene became chaotic for a moment, and Lily heard the wind behind her. She quickly threw herself on the ground and rolled, avoiding the attack from behind. Sure enough, the 2 CPs were standing behind her, and the sound of the wind just now was their surprise attack. Just when CP wanted to continue attacking, help. With 2 screams, 2 Navy sailors solidly hit the CP. Damn muscular woman. How could anyone throw someone out? Kedo cursed while maintaining the throwing motion. It's your blessing that I'm willing to throw you away. Lily casually replied, grabbing a musket with a bayonet from the ground and throwing it to Kedo, while she picked up a sailor's machete. It seems that I underestimated you all. Your strength is good. With a sound of footsteps, the Navy who had just followed Vodka 3 finally walked down. Kedo and Lily looked at the person walking down with a serious expression on their faces. They hadn't even noticed that this person was actually a major general. Although they had confidence in their own strength, the underage couple dared not hold on to it, let alone the weapons that both sides had in their hands. Shaving. With a soft sound, the rear admiral suddenly disappeared. Kaido and Lily's pupils shrank, and they reflexively leaned back together. This was the tacit understanding they had built over the years of war. Lan Jiao. But what they thought of, the rear admiral also thought of it. The rear admiral jumped over their heads and struck them with a wind blade. Stop looking down on people. Blade 1 yang. Lily shouted angrily, wielding a knife in her right hand and swinging a slash upwards. The 2 slashes collided, and it must be said that this major general still had something. The wind blade drawn by Lan's foot clearly suppressed Lily's slash. And the major general was not idle either. He started shaving again and instantly came to Lily's face, take it down, point to the gun. The major general poked Lily's abdomen, don't expect to succeed, thunder and gossip. Kaido held his musket upside down and used the wooden handle of the gun to smash the head of the major general, all he needed to save the enemy. Cut, iron block. The major general reluctantly stopped to defend. In his opinion, although the 2 underage children were indeed strong, it was impossible to break his defense. However, what he didn't know was that Kaido was a ghost tribe. Firstly, we know that the function of an iron block is to solidify the muscles throughout the body by accelerating blood flow, which means that the body is still that body and not replacing it with steel. The human eardrum is extremely fragile and cannot become firm by accelerating blood flow. Behind the eardrum is the cochlea, which controls human balance. Dang! Kaido's thunderous gossip hit the Major General's ear fiercely. The Major General was filmed flying out on the spot, and after so many years of fighting, Kaido had already learned about various human weaknesses under Lily's guidance. As for how Lily knew, we still need to thank Lily's adoptive father back then. For those who don't know, please refer to Figure 1, it was precisely this one that completely penetrated the Rear Admiral's cochlea. Although treating the cochlea may not be difficult in this world, at least for now, this Rear Admiral can no longer pose a threat to Lily and Kedo. Similarly, at this moment, Vodka 3 began to fear. He never expected that a Rear Admiral could not defeat his two underage soldiers here. But Kaido and Lily didn't neglect him. Now they just want to leave quickly, otherwise it won't be easy to be surrounded later, but it's just at this moment. Ahahaha, I didn't expect it to be careless. The young general who had just been knocked away stood up unscathed. It's impossible, I should have just punctured your cochlea. Kedo looked at the Rear Admiral in shock. Hahaha, that's right. If I were an ordinary person, I would have been knocked through the cochlea and couldn't stand up, but it's a pity. The Rear Admiral smiled and took off his coat, followed by a metallic color appearing on the Rear Admiral's face. I haven't introduced myself yet, have I? My name is Andre Boff, a Rear Admiral of the Navy Headquarters, a superhero Iron Fruit ability. Major General Boff turned his whole body into a metallic color and rushed towards Kedo and Lily. Steel Arm Hammer. Major General Boff's right arm bent at 90 degrees and hit Kedo hard, causing him to roll his eyes with just one blow. Next up is you, Steel. Heavy Strike. Major Boff clenched his fists and threw them down at Lily, who was quick-witted and quickly pulled onto Kedo to retreat and avoid Boff's attack. Not over yet. Steel Submachine Gun. Major General Boff gritted his teeth and continued to punch, constantly attacking Kaido and Lily. The weapons in their hands could not cause any harm to them, because the Iron Fruit had brought about the hard body of Major General Boff, shattering both Kaido's musket and Lily's long knife, forcing them to constantly retreat. The final blow. Steel, Hot Cannon. As they were pushed to the corner, Major General Boff stopped holding his hands and prepared to strike to solve the two. Major General Boff's hands began to turn red. A smell of heated metal began to spread, and Boff stepped on the air multiple times to accelerate. The heated fists fiercely hit Kedo and Lily's heads. Dong! Kedo and Lily, who had been hit hard on their temples, finally couldn't hold on and their eyes rolled unconscious. Hahaha, these two little ghosts have good strength, but they are still a bit tender compared to me. Move them both onto the ship and lock them up, Major Bofu said with a chuckle as he hugged his chest. Wait a moment, Major General. At this moment, Doro's voice sounded. Major General Boff glanced at Doro carrying a bundle and felt very strange. It's like this, both of these people are my subordinates. I'm sorry for causing this damage. I didn't discipline them well, please forgive me. Duoluo humbly lowered his head. Hahaha, this is not a problem. These two little guys are so strong that they can definitely be seen by those above. Major General Boff waved his hand casually, and his impression of these two little guys who almost caused him to crash was still good. Thank you, sir. Here are some personal belongings of the two of them. I'll pack them up. Could you please give them to them when they wake up? Doro bowed deeply. He had no ability to change anything, but could only try his best to negotiate some convenience for Lily and Kedo. This was the limit he could do. Hee, no problem, hey. Someone else, take this package up together. Major General Boff instructed his subordinates and turned to look at Vodka 3, who was almost scared to wet his pants, with a contemptuous smile. To avoid nightmares, we'll leave the king first. Okay. Okay, you can do whatever you want. Vodka 3 stuttered as he watched Kedo and Lily being taken away, with no joy in his eyes, only fear remaining. Chapter 4. Escape. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Squeak squeak, with the sound of the waves crashing against the cabin, Lily slowly opened her eyes. Wake up, Kaido said. Where are we? Lily asked. On the Navy ship. I didn't wake up much earlier than you. Kedo raised his hand, accompanied by the clattering of iron chains. The two are located in the detention room at the bottom of the cabin. In order to prevent them from escaping, the Navy tied heavy iron locks to their arms and connected them to the wall through iron chains. The iron door was opened with a clang. Wake up, here's your dinner. A naval soldier walked in carrying 2 plates and placed them in front of the two of them, then turned around and walked out. Hey! Wait a moment. Lily asked slightly hoarse. What else is there? The soldier impatiently dug out his ear and said. Where am I going? Naval headquarters. Where else can we go? The soldier waved his hand and didn't intend to say much before leaving. Squeak, with the sound of the ship, Kedo and Lily exchanged a glance. We're leaving, Lily said first. That's right, I don't want to be the lackey of those world governments, said Kaido, grabbing the bread from the plate in front of him and biting it hard. Those disgusting nobles, Lily cursed. Although she had already learned about the disgust of the nobles from her adoptive father, she had never experienced it firsthand. Although Lily had no good feelings for the nobles in the past, it could not be called a bad feeling. However, this incident awakened Lily's hatred towards these nobles, and she did not hesitate to betray the soldiers who worked hard for her own benefit. Such a guy should not exist. Kaido, what is your dream? Lily also took a bite of the bread. Are you lousy? I haven't really thought about it, but if I insist, I want to smash all those disgusting nobles now. Kaido poured the contents of the plate into his mouth and chewed it twice. What a coincidence, I think the same way, Mom. Oh, Kaido, if we can escape, how about we both defeat these nobles together? Lily also swallowed the food in a few bites and reached out to touch Kaido. Alright, let's drag down those guys who think they're superior, Kaido responded with his iconic laughter. Smash that group of nobles and establish a world where everyone can freely choose their future, a world without nobles. Lily looked at the iron railing in front of her, but her mind was filled with thoughts of the future. But the first step is for us to escape, Kaido said. Of course, is the thing still there? Lily smiled. Of course. Kaido carefully took off his shoes and slowly pulled out a thin iron hook at the heel of his left shoe. This was Kaido's habit, a craft he had practiced while working as a thug on the street. I'll keep an eye on you, hurry up, Lily whispered. No problem, this kind of lock is actually not too difficult to open. It's good to open one. As he was speaking, Kaido had already opened one latch and hurriedly went to open the other. At the same time, outside the detention room, 2 naval soldiers were bored and laughing. Did you hear anything? Soldier A looked around and asked. The sound of the waves, it depends on the situation. There may be a big storm recently, Soldier B yawned. Major General Bofu is really good. Why not change ships? He has been promoted to the rank of Major General in the main unit. In theory, he can change to a good ship. Why use this old ship from the branch? Perhaps it's because Major General Bofu is more nostalgic. Don't forget, we were able to work at our headquarters thanks to Major General Bofu's nostalgia. Otherwise, we would still be squatting in the branch, Soldier Jia said. Perhaps, but there are too many rules in the headquarters, so the branch is still free. Soldier B lazily stretched his waist. That's true, but the allowance for the headquarters is higher. No, there is indeed a sound, you listen. Soldier A suddenly stopped and pressed his ear to the outside door of the detention room. Someone, bring some water, Kedo is choking. Is there anyone there? A faint voice came from inside the door. Not good. Quick. Soldier A quickly opened the hatch and looked through the fence door. Sure enough, Kaido covered his throat, his face turned pale, and Lily slapped Kaido hard on the back. I have water here, quickly open the door. Soldier A took out the kettle from his body, but Major General specially instructed the two of them not to have anything to do. If one of them choked to death without paying attention, he wouldn't be able to bear it. But they didn't notice anything. The handcuffs on their hands seemed a bit loose, just as the two soldiers opened the door. Brush. Kaido and Lily rushed to the soldier's face in an instant, punching him in the abdomen at the same time. The pain in their diaphragm made them unable to speak, and then they punched the soldier in the back of the head. For at least 24 hours, these two would not know what was happening outside. Kedo and Lily carefully walked out of the prison door and touched it little by little. It should be evening now, and the corridor was quiet, with only the old kerosene lamps providing brightness in the cabin. We can't possibly seize the entire ship. Our primary goal now is to find enough supplies, and then this large ship must have lifeboats. As long as we put them down, we can leave, Lily analyzed, rubbing her horns. No problem, let's find the warehouse first. Kaido nodded and agreed with Lily's point of view. So, with the help of the knight, the two of them explored the cabin all the way. The prison where they were originally located was at the lowest end of the cabin. As they explored upwards, the ship became more and more unstable. It seems that there will be a rainstorm. Cadet sniffed and went to the sea to fight all year round. They all know the weather at sea. This is a trouble, but it's also an opportunity. Although we may encounter danger at sea, our chances of successfully escaping are even higher. Lily said as she was about to move forward, but was grabbed by Kedo. Here. Kaido pointed to the side compartment, which clearly read, warehouse. That's great. Lily gave a thumbs up and the two of them carefully pushed open the door. Inside, it was pitch black with no light at all. Seeing no one around, the two of them touched inside. There's rum here, Kedo said, touching a large barrel and opening the lid to smell it. Fresh water at sea is not easy to preserve, and rum is almost a necessity. Here are jerky meat and cookies, as well as a few packets of bread jerky, and spices, which won't work. Lily also gained something from it. Don't forget to find a few clothes. Clothes can keep you warm and also pack these things. I know, but these clothes are all too small. Hey, what is this? Kaido searched and found a large package. He reached out and grabbed it, which was not light. Kaido curiously opened it. Ate fast. Kaido let out a low cry. What did you find? Lily heard Kaido's voice and leaned forward, discovering that Kaido's sword and Kaido's 8 fasting were lying quietly in an unfolded bundle in front of her, with their clothes underneath, and even some Woka Kingdom specialty bread and alcoholic beverages. There's a letter here. Kedo silently took out a letter from his clothes and handed it to Lily. The title of the book on the letter is, Kaido and Lily Kiss, Andiester Doro. Chapter 5. Faith, Storm, and Awakening. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Kaido and Lily Kiss, Andiester Doro. Lily and Kedo started reading the letter under the dim light. Lily, Kedo seeing words is like seeing people. By the time you open this letter, you should have already arrived at the naval base. I'm sorry, I don't have the ability to stop the king's decision. Personally, I don't want you two to leave. From a larger perspective, the kingdom only has you to truly be safe, which is much more useful than any navy. On a smaller scale, you are my friends, and I don't want you to leave. Unfortunately, I am just the second son of an aristocrat who has no right to inherit. My words are useless. The only thing I can do is probably this. I have put your weapons and clothes in the package, and some food and drink. Although they are not valuable, they are kind. Please forgive me, the incompetent captain. I hope to see you again in the future. I don't know if it's your friend's Anderset Doro. The letter came to an end here, very brief. Lily and Kedo were speechless, and no one expected Doro to do so. Hey, Doro, unexpectedly he didn't talk too long. Kedo rose as if he didn't care, but Lily saw a little fluorescence from the corner of his eyes. "Yeah, that's all for these 2 times." Lily murmured softly, "All right, these things happen. Put the things we just found inside, you carry that bucket of rum, and let's go." Lily packed the things she had found before into her bag 3 times, 5 times out of 2. Kedo picked up the rum and the 2 of them touched the deck bit by bit, just as Lily carefully pushed open the overhead cover. Cracking. A thunderbolt struck, clattering. Heavy rain poured down. Damn it, it happened to be raining at this time. Lily sighed helplessly, but now the arrow was on the line and had to be fired. Lily pushed open the cover and climbed onto the deck. The Navy warship swayed in the storm, and the navigator had already predicted the storm. The sails had already been lowered, the anchor had fallen, and there was no one on the deck except for the duty room. This gave Lily and Kedo a chance to escape. The 2 of them secretly arrived at the rear deck of the ship, quietly removed the lifeboat from the iron chain, fixed everything in place, and then lifted the lifeboat to the stern. 1, 2, 3. The 2 of them vigorously threw the lifeboat towards the sea, and then jumped down themselves. The arrival of the storm made the sea rough. Although both of them had good water skills, it was still very difficult for them to swim to the lifeboat. Under the influence of the current, the lifeboat, which felt close at hand, made the 2 of them swim for half an hour. They struggled to climb onto the lifeboat and looked at the naval ship not far away, while also raising their middle fingers. While greeting the parents of the Navy, he took out the small oars on the boat and rowed vigorously. If the lifeboats were allowed to drift with the current, the 2 would eventually perish in the vortex. The top priority now is to leave the storm area manually. Click. Another thunderbolt fell, feeling so close that it felt like being by my side. Suddenly, the wind changed direction and a big wave hit. Lily and Kedo quickly turned the bow of the ship, narrowly surviving. "Damn it, it's Mad Dog Wave!" Lily shouted. Mad Dog Wave, the most terrifying giant wave in a normal sky, can capsize even a 3-masted sailboat when encountering this kind of thing, let alone this small broken lifeboat now. Collision. The small lifeboat was completely overturned by the Mad Dog Wave, almost standing vertically on the sea surface. The 2 of them tried their best to grab the small boat, but it didn't fall off the ship. However, the package of food was not so lucky, and almost all fell into the sea. Only a few pieces of jerky survived, along with the bucket of rum tied to the stern. "Ha, I survived." Kedo let out a heavy sigh. "Stop talking nonsense, row quickly." Lily patted Kedo's head and said. The crazy dog wave just now allowed the oars to fly freely, and they had no choice but to use weapons to row the boat. However, the house leak happened to be a continuous night of rain, the boat broke and encountered headwinds. Just as the Mad Dog Wave passed, a tornado came again. The huge water hose was pulling up and down, and the most terrifying thing was that it was rolling towards the 2 of them. X2 Lily and Kedo played their lives rowing, their facial expressions distorted due to excessive force. However, if they could resist the sea dragon roll so easily, it would not be called a natural disaster. Gollum, Gollum. Unfortunately, Lily and Kedo were unable to escape the attack of the water cannon and were caught inside. Kai Duo. Lily, who was caught up in it, shouted desperately at Kai Duo. "Why, what's going on?" Kedo answered with difficulty. Lily knew very well that neither of them could survive in this situation. The waterspout would send the 2 of them all the way up to the sky, and they would eventually be thrown to the ground and smashed to pieces. The 2 of them had good physical fitness, but could not fall from a height of tens of thousands of meters to save their lives. It was time to make a choice. At the same time, the lifeboat that was circled was also rolled up to Lily's side. Lily was quick-witted and grabbed the lifeboat, using the cover of the lifeboat to pull onto Kedo again. "Kedo, remember our dream. Pull down all the nobles and create a true, free, and oppressive world. Lily said in this brief pause. What's the point of saying this at this moment? The main thing is to find a way to survive. Kedo wiped the seawater on his face and found that the small boat was almost unstoppable. The dense cracks proved that the boat was about to disintegrate. That's right, so we have to live. Kedo. Lily grabbed Kedo and exerted all her strength, lifting him up in this situation. Her feet worked hard and successfully jumped up at the last moment before the ship disintegrated, temporarily breaking free from the suction of the water tornado. Remember. Kedo. Live on. Create a world without nobility. Lily's whole body tightened, her powerful force even tore apart her coat, and her arms were bulging with veins. What are you talking about? You muscular woman. Let me down. Kaido seemed to understand something and began to struggle hard. Don't move around. You stupid little brother. Protecting your little brother is my duty as a sister. This is the last time I will protect you, and from now on, I can only rely on you. With her final farewell, Lily compressed all her strength into this move. Suddenly, she felt a strange force rushing from her spine all the way to her mind. Everything around her became incredibly clear, even the water hose behind her seemed to stop for a moment, but Lily didn't have time to think more. Don't forget, don't help, shell throwing. Kaido, who was caught by Lily, was thrown with all his strength in the opposite direction of the path of the water cannon. Lily. Kaido wanted to turn around and catch Lily, but the power of this move was so great that it was thrown before Kaido could react. Goodbye, Kedo, live on. Silently sending out her final blessings, Lily, completely exhausted, was once again caught up in the water tornado. Chapter 6. Empty Island and Hermit. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The faint wind blew in her ears, and Lily slowly opened her eyes. Cough cough. Lily's dry throat made her cough incessantly, accompanied by a chaotic brain and an unfocused gaze that made her want to vomit. However, her empty stomach turned vomiting into a luxury, and she could only feel endless retching. It took her a while to catch her breath. Finally, with her gaze successfully focused, Lily flipped over and sat up. What caught her eye were the endless white clouds and the blue sky above. Is this heaven? I didn't expect someone like me to go to heaven. I thought I would go to hell. Lily chuckled and then lay down. Since it was heaven, she could take a good rest. I don't know if Kedo has survived. Although I can't bear to interrupt your fantasies, this is not heaven. The suddenly appearing old male voice startled Lily and almost instantly jumped up, but then her legs softened and she fell down again. Don't get excited, little girl. I'm not a bad person. Your arms and legs have muscle strains, and your left calf and right forearm have fractures. If you want to recover soon, you should lie down well. The old male voice reappeared, and Lily finally found the person speaking, right behind her. An old man wearing a black robe, wearing a pocket on his head, with a white beard, sat cross-legged, stirring something. Who are you? Where am I? Lily struggled to get up again, while her left hand slowly touched the long knife at her waist. Don't be nervous, this is an empty island. As for who I am, you can call me a hermit. After all, a name or something is just a code name. The old man, or the hermit, slowly waved his hand. Also, I said if you're injured, lie down well. Your small knife is useless to me. Empty island. Lily clearly didn't fully believe the old man in front of her, and her left hand still tightly grasped the long sword behind her. Yes, it's an empty island. As the name suggests, it's an island in the sky. I was fishing in the White Sea just now, but I didn't expect to catch you. Ha ha ha, what a coincidence. The hermit smiled brightly and handed over the bowl in his hand. Drinking this is good for your health. Lily looked at the dark things in the bowl in front of her, and her mouth twitched. What's going on? Afraid I might poison you. If I wanted to touch you, I would have done it last night. Besides, even if you're a little girl like me, you're not my match. Ha ha ha, drink quickly. The hermit probably saw what Lily was thinking in her heart and explained nonchalantly. Looking at something in front of her that looked more like poison than medicine, Lily's mind struggled several times. The hermit was right, if he wanted to harm himself, he would have harmed him long ago. There was no need to wait for him to wake up. Besides, his life was already picked up, it could not be a big death. After thinking it through, Lily picked up the bowl in front of her and swallowed it in 2 gulps. It's strange to say that although this medicine doesn't sell well and smells slightly pungent, there is a refreshing fragrance in her mouth when she drinks it. As she takes the medicine, Lily clearly feels a lot more comfortable from her mouth to her stomach, and then, hiccup. Lily let out a heavy hiccup, and with the hiccup, she felt the dizziness in her brain disappear. Alright, I feel much more comfortable after taking the medicine. It's not a problem to stay here all the time. Let's go, I'll take you to my place to deal with your leg. Seeing Lily after hiccuping, the hermit slapped her thigh and stood up. At this moment, Lily realized that the hermit old man was so tall. Lily herself was about 3.5 meters tall, and she was not yet of age. There was still a chance for her to grow taller, but the old man in front of her was only 5 meters tall. The hermit reached out and grabbed Lily's belt, directly carrying her on his shoulder. Let's go. The hermit whispered, and then Lily felt the scene in front of her constantly changing. In just a few breaths, a White House appeared in front of the two of them. Arrived, hey, you're really old. It's so slow to come back these few steps, the hermit muttered to himself as he opened the door in front of her. However, Versailles words made Lily feel speechless, and she didn't even understand how he did it. In the eyes of the old man, it was a step back. The hermit carried Lily into the room, which was not large. In a small living room, there was a huge sofa like a cloud, with only various books on the ground. The hermit carried Lily around the books, opened a door, and walked in. This should be a bedroom, a tidy bed, a desk, and the same pile of books. You lie down here first, and I'll get you some hot water and clothes. I hope they have clothes you can wear in their hands. The hermit slowly placed Lily on the bed, lowered his head, and said, turning around to leave. Oh, don't run around, don't flip around. If you mess around, I can't remember where I see. If I get tired, I'll sleep. After finishing her last sentence, the hermit left, and Lily could even hear the sound of the hermit closing the door. In fact, Lily was still a bit confused until now. With a determined determination to die, she sent Kaido out, only to wake up to find herself in a place called an empty island, where she was saved by an old man she had never seen before. Moreover, through her recent movement, the strength of this old man should not be underestimated. Yu reading www.yuukeungshu.net. Now, this old man still brings himself into his home without any defense. Are the people on this empty island so enthusiastic? After thinking for a while, Lily didn't understand all of this and decided not to. Anyway, she didn't have much ability to resist like this now. Let it be fate, and then she tilted her head and fell asleep. After a deep sleep, it seemed as if it was already dark when I woke up again. At the same time, the door was also opened, and the hermit poked his head and looked in. Oh. I woke up, ha ha ha. I'm sorry, I didn't call you because I saw you sleeping soundly. After speaking, the hermit turned around and shouted, Chi-Chi. Anna. This girl is awake. Can you help me? With the hermit's words, he leaned over and let in 2 girls, who miraculously had a pair of wings behind them. You're awake, my name is Chi-Chi, the blue-haired girl said with a smile. My name is Anna. Another girl with black hair yawned and looked drowsy. Hello, my name is Lily, Rose Lily. Lily also said hello, but her eyes still unconsciously drifted towards the wings behind the 2 of them. Chi-Chi, Anna, you two should help her take a shower and change into clothes while I get some medicine." The hermit waved his hand and said, "Oh, by the way, and you, don't look. They are island people, and their wings are natural, just like the horns on your ghost tribe's heads. If you have anything to ask, go take a shower first. Aren't you feeling uncomfortable all over? Go ahead." Lily reluctantly swallowed her words, nodded, and with the help of Chi-Chi and Anna, jumped towards the door. There was no way, although these two girls were also very tall, it was a bit difficult to support Lily, who was 175 centimeters tall and 355 centimeters tall. Therefore, the two of them could only help Lily jump into the bathroom all the way.